But before we get into it, I have an announcement to make. I got a sponsorship. Thank you, thank you. Oh, seriously, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Alright, that's alright. Okay, alright, seriously now, stop. This video is sponsored by Raycon. They make these really cool wireless earbuds that I have genuinely been enjoying using ever since I got them. Now, I haven't had the chance to properly field test them out in the wild, considering the circumstances we currently find ourselves in, but I have been wearing them around the house, especially when I'm doing chores, you know, being a good boy. They started about half the price of any other premium earbuds without compromising on quality. They sound just as amazing as other top audio brands. And their newest model, the Everyday E25s, these are their best yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, bass that really kicks, and a compact design that gives you a comfortable, noise-isolating fit. They also come in a variety of cool colors, so you can find the exact pair you like. Click the link in the description or visit buyraycon.com/Tamago to get 15% off your order and support my channel at the same time. What a world we live in.
No escape, they're gonna get you. In the end, everything dwindles from sight. There they are, you need to escape. You're so gonna die, I'm scared.
But before that, really quick, this video is sponsored by Audible. If you don't know what Audible is by now, Audible is an online service that lets you download audiobooks, audio newspapers, and just like all kinds of spoken word entertainment. Right now, if you sign up with my link, audible.com/Alex Myers, or text my name, Alex Myers, to 500-500, you can get a 30-day free trial where you get 1 free audiobook and 2 Audible original programs. Now, Audible originals are exactly what they sound like. Audiobooks are some kind of like audio entertainment thing that you can't find anywhere else, or exclusive versions of books like The Adventures of Tom Sawyer read by Nick Offerman, for example. And once you've signed up, you continue to get 1 free audiobook regardless of price and 2 more Audible originals every month for just $15. Now, a lot of these audiobooks are between $15 and like $30 anyway, so you're actually saving quite a bit of money by signing up. And here's the thing, whatever audiobooks you download, even the free one you get with the 30-day free trial, you get to keep forever, even if you cancel the membership. So like, you literally have nothing to lose. As always, I would recommend The Power of Habit because almost everything we do, from sleeping to eating to studying to making YouTube videos, everything comes down to our habits. And by understanding and changing those habits, really you can do almost anything. So once again, sign up with my link, audible.com/Alex Myers, or text my name, Alex Myers, to 500-500, start your 30-day free trial, get your free audiobook. I mean, come on. Okay, back to the show.
The game opens with a cutscene showing a horde of wasps being beamed into Springfield. Thing is, they're not only wasps, they're cameras too. One of these wasp cameras enters the Simpsons family home, where it is swiftly pimp-slapped by Homer and then stomped on. This is a scene that plays right before the game's menu screen, and when you start a new game, you're brought right back where you left off, with Homer inspecting a couple of coins that were released from the wasp camera he just destroyed. An ad then comes on of Krusty promoting a new and improved Buzz Cola, which Homer, in classic fashion, feels compelled to go out and buy. Level 1 takes place in the suburbs of Springfield on a typical sunny day. Homer talks to Marge, who tells him to go out and buy some ice cream, which works great for him since he was already going to the Quickie Mart to get the Buzz Cola. This is when the first mission starts, and it's pretty simple. You drive to the Quickie Mart, speak to Apu, he gives you the stuff, you collect it, then you hear Bart say this.
Congratulations, Homer. Mission complete. Go back home and talk to Mom to start the next mission.
The next few missions are just Homer carrying out busy work, getting Lisa's science project to her before Principal Skinner gets there, returning items he borrowed from Ned Flanders and for some reason left all over town, blowing up Smithers' car with the Plow King so he won't be able to catch him late for work, you know, the usual errands.
That's what you get for expecting me to do the job for which I am paid.
After a busy day at work, Homer returns home and watches a news report stating that Springfield citizens are infuriated by the appearance of the WASP surveillance cameras.
These miniature cameras are an outrage. Spying on our women's dressing rooms, bathrooms, and locker rooms is unforgivable. I think I speak for all Springfielders when I say Where is the sexy footage?
On a seemingly related note, black surveillance vans have also started showing up in town, which rubs Homer the wrong way, so he decides to follow one of them to see who's responsible. After seeing the van end its journey at Mr. Burns' mansion, Homer figures he must be the one behind all this, and so he rushes to tell Marge about it. Unfortunately for him, Marge is far more interested in getting a violent video game off store shelves, and so after helping her with that, he's left to deal with Mr. Burns on his own. This involves him racing Smithers, who was apparently already able to get an exact replica of his car made. Either that or he just got one of those magic spanner things. Anyway, you race him to Burns' mansion, and when you get there, Homer tells Mr. Burns that he knows all about what he's doing with the black vans and WASP cameras. At which point, Mr. Burns informs Homer that 1. The WASP cameras have nothing to do with him, 2. The black vans are actually pizza delivery vehicles, and 3. Homer is fired.
I'm a class 5 idiot.
Enter level 2, you're now playing as Bart, and it's set in downtown Springfield. Bart really wants to get the new Bone Storm game, but seeing as Marge destroyed a bunch of the copies from before, his search ends up unsuccessful. That is, until he finds out that Professor Frink has collected copies of the game and is using them to power his giant robot dinosaur, Truckosaurus. Frink tells Bart he still needs a few more parts to get the robot fully operational, and so Bart sets off to collect a radio, a satellite dish, and a blender. Bing bang boom, kill a few road users so their cell phone signals won't interfere with the robot, and you got yourself a Truckosaurus. In the next cutscene, Bart goes to see the thing, but it turns out a 20-ton, 4-story tall, fire-breathing robot dinosaur has the potential to be a little dangerous, and so Bart has to make a quick escape, all the while still being watched by a WASP camera. But Bart might have actually been better off had he just stayed there, because once he escapes, he's abducted by aliens in a green mist. Enter level 3. You're playing as Lisa. The level takes place in the harbor area at sunset. She's trying to find her missing brother. She asks Comic Book Guy. He doesn't know where he is. She asks Millhouse. He doesn't know where he is. She asks Professor Frink. He doesn't know where he is. She asks Grandpa Simpson. Now he doesn't even know where he is, but he says he thinks Bart might be in a strange black sedan he saw nearby, so of course Lisa takes the most logical course of action. She buys a school bus and rams into the car repeatedly until it blows up. Now assuming Bart was in there, she just made the worst series of decisions in her entire life. But luckily for her, not only was Bart not in the vehicle, nobody was in the vehicle. It was a ghost car. She then talks to Chief Wiggum, who tells her to go to the Squidport. When she gets there, she asks the captain if he knows where Bart is. He says he saw Bart in a black limo, but not just any black limo, this black limo. And despite it being very evident very quickly that Bart is not in this vehicle, she proceeds to chase the limo down and blow it to smithereens. What is it with Lisa and blowing up vehicles? Are you okay, child? She returns to the captain. He says he saw Bart board the boat. She goes on the boat, she finds Bart, the day is saved, all is well, the game's over, roll credits. Psych! Bart cannot speak English.
Bart, how old are you? What's your favorite catchphrase? Kiss my grits.
Bart has forgotten who he is. There remain WASP cameras all over Springfield, and still nobody has spoken to Lisa about her vehicular homicidal tendencies. All is most certainly not well. Enter level 4. You're playing as Marge Simpson, you're back in the suburbs, but now it's dark. Marge consults Chief Wiggum to figure out what has happened to Bart, and Wiggum responds by saying, "Get me some donuts." So after she gets the donuts, Wiggum tells her to speak to Cletus. So she speaks to Cletus, and Cletus says, "Get me some ketchup." So after she gets the ketchup, Cletus tells her about the crop circles that have been appearing on his farm. Marge decides she needs to speak to someone older and wiser about this, so she heads over to the cemetery to speak to Mole Man, who then tells her to speak to Grandpa Simpson because apparently he knows a thing or two about crop circles. So she heads over to Grandpa Simpson, he explains everything that's going on, Bart is saved, the WASP cameras disappear, and they all live happily ever after. The game's over, roll credits. Psych! Grandpa Simpson cannot speak English.
You done darn ricket in crop circles and banging agri
Oh dear.
So she has to run out and get his meds so he can start talking some goddamn sense. In the next cutscene, we see Marge give Grandpa his medication and then ask about the crop circles. He describes them as looking like the same symbol that appears on the new Buzz Cola. So Marge goes back home and shows Bart a can of Buzz Cola, which snaps him out of his trance. He then reveals that the cola is a mind control agent he was given up in the alien spaceship. Upon hearing that the cola is responsible, she asks Apu if he knows where it's coming from, and he says he has no idea. So Marge responds by chasing down and blowing up 3 cola delivery trucks in a fit of rage. At least we know where Lisa got it from. It seems to run in the family. Level 5, baby. We're playing as Apu, we're back in downtown Springfield, and we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Now Apu's focused on finding out who's responsible for the cola trucks, so he speaks to Snake to see if he can use his criminal connections to get more information. In exchange for the info, Snake has Apu help him carry out his community service and crimes, and then tells him that the cola trucks are registered to the Natural History Museum. So Apu and Bart get together to head over there, and in the next cutscene they find that the mind control cola is coming from a meteor. And if you're thinking this must be as wacky as this story gets, you've got another thing coming. After a quick debacle with the cola-infused dinosaur skeleton, Bart and Apu find the aliens Kang and Kodas talking in the museum bathroom. They eavesdrop on their conversation and discover that the citizens of Springfield are unknowingly the stars of Foolish Earthlings, an intergalactic reality show which is filmed via the WASP cameras. The aliens also reveal their plan to boost the show's ratings by releasing the evil cola into the water supply and providing everyone in Springfield with free laser guns.
We've got to prevent the aliens from putting laser guns in the hands of cola-drunk townspeople.
Why? That sounds hilarious. I'd watch that show.
Tell you what, you're a bad little boy.
Now for level 6, Bart is back in the building. The date is October 30th, one day before Halloween. Bart goes to Apu and asks for his help to foil the alien plot. Apu helps him, they stop the aliens, save Springfield, Harmony is brought back to the Earth, the game's over, roll credits. Psych! Apu cannot speak English.
I'm sorry, sir, but I cannot speak English. I only speak Hindi.
Well, you're just scared of being vaporized by the space monsters.
Up, down, go hot dog, butter my undershirt, blah, blah, blah.
So Apu's out the game, he's too scared of what might go down. Bart's on his own on this one. Bart figures he needs to find a way to get the word out, so he goes to Krusty to tell him what's about to go down in the hopes that he can broadcast it on television. Krusty does not believe him, so Bart heads up to the observatory to speak to Professor Frink, so hopefully he can find some proof to show Krusty. Frink tells Bart that the lasers are being hidden in Duff trucks, so Bart chases down one of the trucks, heads to the Duff brewery, and gets his hands on a laser gun. Bart then bumps into Principal Skinner and tells him all about what's going down.
Aliens are distributing deadly lasers all over Springfield. We gotta warn everybody.
All we've got to do, young man, is get that illicit goo gaw out of your hands. Clearly you forgot the school's zero-tolerance policy on lasers.
Skinner then proceeds to confiscate the laser gun from Bart, despite the fact that this is not on school grounds, this is not within school hours, and he has no jurisdiction here. Surely this is illegal, right? With Skinner having taken the only proof Bart had to show to Krusty, Bart proceeds to take the most logical course of action and murders Principal Skinner. Now that I can guarantee is illegal. After getting the laser gun back, he takes it to Krusty, who finally believes him, but who also reveals that it's too late. Multiple free laser gun stands have already been set up all over town. So Bart buys the supervillain car from Kearney, destroys all the stands, and then drives over to Homer to tell him that the aliens have taken over the Duff Brewery. The aliens were also the ones who previously abducted and brainwashed his child, but Homer decides that now there's beer involved, now it's personal. Homer and Bart race over to the Duff Brewery, and in the next cutscene the alien spaceship is shown emerging from the ground, and the aliens reveal that the evil Buzz Cola has spread through the Springfield water supply and is resurrecting the dead. I told you had another thing coming, I told you. Enter level 7. We're playing as Homer once again. We are back in the suburbs of Springfield. It is Halloween night and zombies, ghouls and ghosts roam the streets. Now let me be honest, if this was the sort of game I was looking for, I would have just stuck with Scooby-Doo. Homer stocks up on supplies to fend off the zombies before discovering that the alien spaceship is parked up at the Springfield Elementary playground. He then follows an alien sports car to the nuclear power plant where he finds Professor Frink, who reveals that the alien's weakness is nuclear waste. which doesn't surprise me. I feel like everyone's weakness is nuclear waste. So both he and Frink drive a nuclear waste barrel to the spaceship so it can be sucked up by the tractor beam and damage the ship. Unfortunately, this alone is not enough to take out the aliens, so he has to repeat this process with his own car, Snake's car, and Grandpa Simpson's car respectively. Grandpa Simpson is sacrificed, the spaceship blows up, crashes to the ground, the aliens' plan is foiled, the Simpsons have saved the day, Homer is now an intergalactic celebrity, all is well, game's over, roll credits. And that's the story of The Simpsons Hit and Run. It was an absolute mess, and I loved every minute of it.
Even the worst song in Prince of Egypt is good enough to make this list. Playing with the Big Boys is slimy, sinister, and single-handedly justifies the High Priest being in the movie. It's got neat visuals and builds to a bombastic conclusion, even if it's a bit slow to start.
I love it.
Gee, it sure is too bad that Plankton never got a villain song that wasn't bullshit. Oh wait!
When the going gets tough, sees our favorite one-celled menace spitting straight bars. Seriously, I never thought Plankton rapping would be amazing, but it just is. Please give this song and this show a listen. It's a great intro to musical theater for complete newcomers. And if you want more advanced intros to musical theater, stay tuned on this list.
Charming.
Rain is a slut.
This character is one of the highlights of Great Comet, as is her villain song, Charming. Listening to her casually promote infidelity with such finesse in both English and Russian is wild. It's a blast of a song, and it was one of my favorite parts when I saw the show on Broadway. Maybe someday I'll see it on Broadway again.
Like that's ever gonna happen.
Be quiet.
My high school drama teacher is gonna hate me for this, but I don't really like Oklahoma. Look, I'm sorry, Mr. Crick. It's been 5 years. I can't hold it in any longer. But while a lot of this show is bad and outdated, even though I've heard the current Broadway revival is actually pretty good, but we're not gonna talk about that. I actually really like how it has a villain protagonist. Curly is evil. Don't believe me? Listen to Poor Judd is Dead, a song all about Curly getting jealous of the stable hand guy going to the big shindig with the girl he likes. So Curly decides to fix this problem by convincing Judd to commit suicide. Wait, what the fuck? It's remarkably sinister, and on top of this, the harmonies between the two of them are great. It's haunting and filled with subtle malice. And I feel like it was Rodgers and Hammerstein's intention to let Curly showcase his true colors through this song. That's great stuff. I'm still not a big fan of this musical, sorry, not sorry.
They're not even a real country anyway.
Blame Canada is an Oscar-nominated passionate ballad from South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. It's all about blaming Canada for the degradation of our youth. I don't think I need to explain why this is on the list. It's comedy gold, and the first AMV I ever watched on YouTube was Disney villains singing this. Watch that.
A friend is a friend till the end of the end.
Oh, hell yeah, Friends on the Other Side time. The middle's a little slow, but loaded with clever foreshadowing, and the beginning and ending just kill it with how smooth, jazzy, and bombastic they are. Keith David knocks this thing out of the park, and I think the visuals in this song are an excellent example of how well Musker and Clements construct dynamic animation to go with their musical numbers, especially compared to every other Disney director working today, but that's a story for another day.
Jafar, he's our man if he can't do it. Right!
I took suggestions on Twitter for this list, but ended up realizing that it's hard to get invested in a villain song when you don't know its context in the story. Except Jaleesa's suggestion, that one killed it.
Get it?
Killer Instinct is hysterical and shows how vicious and manipulative a 15-year-old cheerleader can be. I feel like this song is even funnier without knowing the context of the show, because I didn't. And I still really don't. So give it a listen. You'll love it, probably. Maybe. We'll see. Go listen to it.
Genie of the Lamp!
Fairly Odd Parents is not really known for great music, but it's got some jams, honestly. Gimme the Wand is just so good. Sure, half of it belongs to Cosmo, who sounds like Diana DeGarmo, but Norm the Genie takes center stage and outlines his totally not sinister machinations and reasons why he wants to become a fairy. Great instrumentation, great visuals, great vocals. He would have had my vote to win Fairy Idol.
I'm the Genie of the Lamp. No, God, please, no! go!
Alright, listen up. This is the last time I'm gonna compliment Pocahontas. Savages is pretty good. It ties into the whole obnoxious both sidesing of the issue of colonialism, and the lyrics are ridiculously on the nose.
They're different from us, which means they can't be trusted.
But the visuals are fantastic. It makes for an intense climax. The three-part aspect once Pocahontas joins in is rad, and like, I don't know. It's a good example of how prejudice and misunderstanding can lead to bloodshed. It just suffers from a lot of the same issues the entire movie has. But it's still good, fine, whatever.
Over and over and over and over and over and over.
I heard the story of Steven Universe. Don't really like how it ends. That's why Spinel finally makes me feel seen. I'm just yanking your chains, by the way. I know it's Spinel. And once again, her villain song is a bop. It's bouncy and fun, which goes really well with her stretchy physique, but it's also got a nice sinister element to it as well. The best part is how the lyrics foreshadow future revelations about her character and her motivation. It's honestly brilliant how well integrated these little lyrical touches are.
I'm the loser of the game. You didn't know you were playing.
The only issue I have with this song is how short it is and how I wish there were more verses, which is an issue with a lot of songs from the Steven movie. I wish they could have done more quality over quantity and expanded some of their better songs while cutting others. But regardless, this one's pretty rad.
All right, Magic Conch. What do we do now?
Ladies and gentlemen, VeggieTales cracks the top 20. I don't know how. They actually had a few great villain songs to pick from, but the OG one is something you can't go wrong with. Oh No is kind of like the junior version of This Jesus Must Die, but it's ridiculously catchy and hilariously inventive, with all the wacky concepts the high priests come up with to get rid of Daniel. And the animation is ambitious. I mean, this was pre-Toy Story, so like they really tried. At least the lyrics and orchestrations are fantastic.
Women are as slick as eels.
Poor Unfortunate Souls is rad, but much like Friends on the Other Side, it's got a slow middle and even a slow beginning this time. But once that ending kicks in, hot damn. This is a quintessential villain song that showcases how sinister this lady and her ambitions are. The way it builds and builds to this amazing ass climax gives me life. It's so solid. Now in Hadestown, there were a lot of villain songs. There's a number of great sinister ballads sung by our resident Lord of the Underworld, including Why We Build the Wall, which, looking at that title, I know what you're thinking, and yes, this is an intentional parallel to the song Build a Wall from Shrek the Musical. But I hate Shrek the Musical, so I'm not picking this one. My pick is Hey, Little Songbird. It's a dark, low, immensely sinister ditty featuring Hades tempting the innocent young songbird Eurydice and saying, hey, come on down to Hadestown. But she's like, I got some food. Food? Why didn't you say so, my man? I'm gonna sign my entire life over to Hades for this little bag of food, man. I'm a idiot. Also, I saw this show on Broadway a couple weeks ago, and what really stuck out with this song was the staging and lighting. Hades would get a spotlight shown on him immediately every time he started singing. And that, coupled with him circling Eurydice over the course of the song, wearing intimidating shades the whole time, made for a fantastic visual. I guess what I'm trying to say is that Hadestown is incredible and everyone should see it, but unfortunately we live in a society where Broadway tickets are incredibly inaccessible to the average consumer. Boy, isn't that swell?
Little Maui's having trouble with his luck.
Here we go, a Halloween Boy. Oogie Boogie delivers an all-time classic of a musical number, complete with spooky dice, spookier bats, spookiest toy soldiers, all while he relentlessly torments Santa Claus. That's the good shit. I love the blacklight design of the place. I love the way Oogie moves. I love that random voice crack.
Better pay attention now.
It's maybe a little too simple and repetitive, which prevents it from being higher, but it's awesome. Y'all know it.
Beep boo boo bop boo boo beep.
Oh hell yeah, video game representation. Once You Gone is sonically and lyrically rich, showcasing how GLaDOS is finally ready to move on from that pesky test subject who pretty much ruined her entire operation. It's a great send-off to the character since Valve is creatively bankrupt and never gonna make another one of these games. Still Alive was excellent, but this is the GLaDOS credits number perfected. Gosh, it disturbs me to see you, Gaston. Only at number 15. Every song here'd love to be you, Gaston. You're cooler than Planet Sheen. Speaking of which, holy shit, I was listening to the Planet Sheen theme song the other day. Keep in mind, I've never heard it before, and oh my god, it's one of the worst musical compositions ever created. I'm dead serious. They didn't try, and they seem proud of that fact. The song is literally just random words in a random order while Sheen comments on how it makes no sense and is terrible. Like, wow, what an observation. Great work. I couldn't tell that this was a piece of shit on my own, but I'm so glad you were here to tell me. Whoever greenlit this show should be ashamed of themselves. Who even asked for this? Who asked for Jimmy Neutron in space but with worse animation and only Sheen? I am genuinely shocked that Planet Sheen was not amongst the plagues God inflicted upon Egypt in order to free the Hebrews. It would fit right in. It is not a show. It is a deadly sin. Anyway, yeah, Gaston is a pretty good song. Alright, time to break out the tier list. You got the good movies, you got the really good movies, and then you got the masterpieces. If you haven't watched these, shame on you. And then you get the big boys. These movies are some of my all-time favorites. They are the reason I love animation and film as a medium. So let's get it started. Ratatouille is an absolute delight of a film. This is hands down the most underrated Pixar movie of all time. Every scene and location is dripping with atmosphere, from the cold isolation of a sewer to the sensory cornucopia of a food cellar. Nearly every frame of this movie expresses such an exquisite feeling of wonder and joy. But aside from the atmosphere, this movie just feels the most sophisticated out of Pixar's entire catalog. It genuinely feels like a smart indie movie made for adults, from the pacing to the dialogue to the humor. That's the magic of Brad Bird's writing. His Pixar movies, even the weaker one, have dialogue that feel like they were written specifically for adults, but can still be followed and enjoyed by children. Most Pixar movies, as good as they are, feel like they were written primarily for kids, with adults also being able to enjoy them. This movie is the inverse. It fully immerses itself in the language of cooking, the rich beauty of Paris, the nature and deconstruction of criticism, and the importance of following your dreams. It seems like a simple message, but the way this movie develops it and represents this theme through multiple characters is just fantastic. This movie has story structure problems. I mean, Remy doesn't talk for a solid 30 minutes in the movie, and maybe one or two subplots could have been cut to tighten the script a bit. But at the end of the day, I don't even care. This movie absolutely soars due to a wonderfully realized world, great characters, a rich, mature story, and some of my favorite scenes in any film, let alone animated film. I have a soft spot for Persepolis, but of course Ratatouille deserved its Oscar. It's a masterwork that Pixar has not topped since, and I hope more people really start giving it the respect it deserves. It's such an incredible experience, and you should watch it right after this video is over. Yep, it's that good. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse should not even be a real movie. I'm shuddering at the amount of effort it must have taken to craft every inch of this incredible world, brought to life in the most gorgeous style of any animated film I've ever seen. If all 3D animation looked this good, I'd almost be okay with leaving 2D animated films behind forever. Please note I said almost. This movie's fluid, eye-popping visuals, which make every character and action beat leap off the screen, is honestly just a small piece of the amazing puzzle. I'm not one to lavish gorgeously animated movies with praise if I don't find the story or characters compelling. Fortunately, Spider-Verse swings past this issue with a mature, well-written story that strikes a perfect balance between levity, excitement, genuine heartbreak, and for lack of a better word, magic. This is that rare movie where nearly everything works to an amazing level. I laughed out loud at least a dozen times on my 6th viewing of the movie. The emotional beats choke me up every time. The action is so fast yet so fluid and easy to follow, making for an experience that's enthralling, smart, funny, and unlike any other movie that's ever been made. I bought every single thing about Miles, from his struggle with adapting to a new school and his spider powers, his connection to his dad and uncle, his relationship with Peter B, everything. When he finally masters his powers, it feels like a genuine triumph. It makes me want to get up and cheer in a way that so few movies have ever done. Honestly, I still can't believe this exists. It's just an instant classic, and I have not been able to stop thinking about it. Obviously, it deserved this win. The fact that Ralph Breaks the Internet was in the same category as it is embarrassing. Check it out if for some reason you haven't seen it already, because animation this inventive, mature, hysterical, and powerful deserves to be rewarded. I also highly recommend checking out CinemaWin's video on the movie, which highlights so many amazing little details that I could never fully go into. But I did want to mention my personal favorite detail. Not only is Miguel in this movie, but he's the guy who shot at Gwen's dad in her dimension. Now that is attention to detail. Congrats, Spider-Verse, you retroactively made Coco better. Now I can say for sure that it's better than Boss Baby and deserve the Oscar. Thank you and good night. This is it, Chief. The peak of computer animation and superhero movies. This is my favorite Pixar movie, and I don't think it's hard to see why. It has one of the smartest scripts I've ever seen in any movie, period. Just like Ratatouille, this is a movie made specifically for adults, with the added bonus of being enjoyable for kids. There is not a second of this movie that feels like it's talking down to its audience. Every scene is conveyed with a striking sense of realism, despite the fantastical superpowers being displayed. Every emotional beat and interaction works. Bob and Helen's struggling marriage is portrayed so realistically, almost uncomfortably so at certain times. There's just so many lines of dialogue in this movie that I want to print out and frame somewhere. I love Edna's rant about capes and how it comes back in the ending. Speaking of which, Syndrome is such a fantastic villain in every way. Campy, hilarious, and kinda pathetic, yet legitimately intimidating at the same time. It's only fitting he gets this movie's most iconic line.
And when everyone's super, no one will be.
I also love how this movie is one of Pixar's most emotional, and it doesn't feel like it's even trying to be. There's no scene like the opening of Up or Finding Nemo, or the end of Toy Story 3 where they try to tug at your heartstrings. You're just taken in by the rich themes and incredibly strong relationships between the family members. It feels effortless, which, again, is the magic of Brad Bird's writing. Dude, I don't even know what else to say. It's just flawless. I'm very passionate about the other two movies it won the Oscar against, in very different ways. But come on. It's The Incredibles. Every time I watch this movie, it just gets better and better. And I have no qualms calling it my favorite animated movie ever made. Wait, why is it not number one? Let's be honest. You knew what number one was going to be before you clicked on the video. Spirited Away is not a movie. It is an ethereal, immersive, unforgettable experience that leaves you a changed person by the end. From the moment I first saw this movie, I knew that it was a masterpiece and the best animated film I had ever seen. But for the life of me, I could not figure out why. The plot seems really basic at first, right? Chihiro and her parents find some food. They eat the food. They become pigs. Now she has to get a job cleaning a bathhouse and wacky hijinks ensue. It doesn't seem special on paper, so why was this movie speaking to me in a way that no other movie had before? Well, I think I finally figured it out. So allow me to attempt to describe my feelings about this movie even though words could never really do it justice. Spirited Away is a movie about growth. Chihiro starts the movie out very sheltered and scared of everything. But through struggles, hardships, smiles, and tears, she matures into a confident young woman who helps not only herself and her parents, but the people around her. It is through her unwavering compassion that she saves Haru and No-Face, setting them both free in the process. Every victory she achieves feels earned because the movie takes its time to establish the perils and wonders of the world she now inhabits. And when I say establish, I don't mean through needless exposition. The movie simply shows us one of the most creative, beautiful, endlessly expressive fictional worlds ever conceived, and moves forward with the confidence that we can pick up the rules of this world as we go along, just like the main character does. This makes for an immersive experience that never talks down to its audience. There is no villain in this movie, just real people with easily understood relationships and emotions. The sheer power this movie can convey through raw simplicity, from Chihiro pulling garbage out of a river spirit, to sitting in a field and breaking down crying as the weight of her situation overwhelms her, to sitting on a train and being overtaken by the serene ripples of the water and the spirits passing by. You know what? Nothing I could ever say could do this movie justice. It's just magic. Pure, unfiltered, real-life magic. If you haven't seen it, just watch it, and then you'll realize why no other movie could have topped it on this list. The Incredibles is just barely my favorite animated movie, the one I drop everything to rewatch on the most regular basis, but Spirited Away is the best. There has never been, and probably never will be, anything quite like it. And there's something very special about the only traditionally animated film on this list being the...
Não vai dar all said and done, I don't really have a good way to segue into the ads. So let's talk about Squarespace. Because I want to paint a picture of you just sat around at home right now thinking, how can I show my work to the rest of the world? And I'm here to tell you that Squarespace is the perfect tool from which to create a website. Because with Squarespace, you can purchase a domain with free Whois privacy, and from there you can build a community with like-minded people and interact with them in your comments section where they will only say nice things, I promise. You'll be provided with analytics to help grow your site to a wider audience, which I can only assume is something you want to do. And there's just so much more. So if you're interested or just want to support the channel, make sure to go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And once you're ready to launch, you can use squarespace.com/ShamusGorman for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
I know I'm a little too young, but please read this. I'm a ginger pale fanatic. I do not write fanfics. Thank you. He cheers up my day. I am not gay. He is a bit ginger. Please say Jar Jar. Alright.
What the fuck did you just fucking say about me, you little bitch? I'll have you know, I graduated top all of my class in the Navy SEALs, and I have over 300 confirmed kills. You're fucking dead, kiddo.